Welcome to episode 285 of In Touch with iOS, the show that talks about iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Apple TV, and related technologies. I'm your host, Dave Ginsburg, and Jeff Gamet is back. He's here. How you doing, Jeff?
I'm doing great, and it's always great to get to hang out with you.
Yes, definitely.
I realize we're kind of wrapping up the end of the year together, and
we are.
That's pretty awesome.
We're going to have a pre-Christmas show and a pre-New Year's show, so we'll have some fun the next couple weeks. And speaking of fun, Ben Roethig's here. How you doing, Ben?
I'm doing great, Dave. We're always here.
We love doing this show for all of you out there in YouTube and audio land here. So it's, believe it or not, there's just a ton of news this week, and I've had a couple good topics. I just wanted to dive in here, and let's just jump right into the news for this week. I'm going to hold off on the watch here. We may have a couple guests joining us here in just a few minutes. So meanwhile, I wanted to talk a little bit about Apple's test flight servers. From 2012 to 2015, there was a leak containing terabytes of data. Data was scraped from the servers of Apple's test flight services during those years, giving access of tens of thousands of iOS apps and games. This leak was dubbed the Terra leak due to its sheer size and seemingly as riot to the Nintendo Giga leak back in 2020. If anybody doesn't know what test flight is a service that developers use to release iOS apps for testing on Apple's servers, and it was found on using the Wayback Machine. Don't we love the Wayback Machine to find this stuff? And now, Jeff, you had some active information about this. What did you think of this?
Well, I mean, it kind of sucks, but at the same time, it could have been a lot worse because it's not like personal information or credit cards or other account information was involved in this. So that's good.
Yeah.
All right, so it looks like this was a misconfigured Amazon S3 server, and Amazon Web Services, like practically everyone and everything uses them. So the fact that Apple had data on Amazon servers, no surprise at all. It's configured. That happens. It sucks, and it doesn't look good for anyone. And I know there's been talk about, Apple didn't actually own TestFlight yet, so it wasn't their data yet. Mm-hmm. But here's the thing: Burstly, the company that created TestFlight, Apple bought Burstly secretly in 2011. Wow. And it wasn't made public knowledge until 2014. And so, yes, Apple actually owned TestFlight when let me say this better. Apple owned TestFlight, which means they had responsibility for the data for that time frame that it was taken. We don't exactly know when it was scrapable, but yeah, it was Apple's data at that point. So it's old app versions, in some cases, apps that were never released, like in the case of some Rovio games, versions of Angry Birds.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think the biggest thing out of this ultimately is probably going to be that it looks like bad optics for Apple because they had a data leak that ultimately is their responsibility, regardless of who was at fault for misconfiguring servers and letting the data get scraped.
Yeah, that's true. I would like to welcome to the show, Brittany Smith is here. So glad you were able to make it. How you doing, Brittany?
Thanks for having me. I'm doing all right. I remembered wear my Christmas sweater for this one. Does that count?
That's awesome. And your Star Wars in the back behind you there. That's great.
Yeah. Got to cut down on the noise in this room somehow.
Yep. We were talking about TestFlight, and then there was some security leaks. Ben, go ahead and give your thoughts on that. We can move on from this.
The best part about this for Apple is that it came out now rather than when it was scraped years ago. Because if this would have came out as current data, you would have had in development unreleased games.
Yep.
And it would have been a much bigger scandal.
Interesting that it didn't get a ton of press. At least I didn't even know about it until all of a sudden they this article was out just the other day here. So, but it doesn't seem like it's getting a lot of attention. And I also want to make welcome to the show Kelly Guimont with her cute Santa hat. How you doing, Kelly?
I'm doing well, David. Thanks for having me on the show.
Oh, so glad to have both you and Brittany here this week, and this is going to be a lot of fun. So I saved the big story of this week as I was waiting for both of you to join us, and this is breaking news. This just has now been made available within the last couple hours here. Apple Watch Series 9 and the Ultra 2 is no longer available on Apple's website. Huh? You can no longer buy the Apple Watch Series 9 or the Watch Ultra 2 on Apple's online store in the United States. This had been announced that Apple was going to remove its flagship Apple Watch models in light of an ongoing patent dispute with the medical device company Masimo. And this news was broke Monday as we record this, and this was the ITC ruled that in October Apple's Watch's blood oxygen feature infringes on two of Masimo's patents. So the official ban is supposed to take effect on Christmas Day of on December 25th, after a 60-day presidential review expires. During the 60-day window, President Biden could have stepped in and vetoed its ruling, but so far he has chosen not to act. But what Apple's doing is basically taking preemptive steps to comply to the ruling and see how it goes here. So meanwhile, the official dates are going to be with Apple's continued battle with the Masimo is December 24th will be when the Apple Watch will be not sold in the retail stores after that point. The 25th was that final day, as I said, and then the 26th, Apple will file appeal of the ITC's final decision to the U.S. Court of Appeals in Circuit Court. As it stands now, no further details are how long Apple Watch is going to be unavailable in the United States. This ban only applies to the flagship Series 9 and the Ultra 2. The SE is going to continue to be available. But you could go to some other third-party retail stores like Amazon, Best Buy that still have their existing stock, but that's going to get exhausted. This is just some crazy stuff here. And Kelly, I'm going to let you open up with your thoughts about this whole thing. You're muted.
I think it's interesting it's come to this, primarily because when it's something that's a little more legitimate, Apple has a tendency to make it go away. We'll say whether that's we're going to buy the company or we're going to write them a big fat, Ed McMahon on the doorstep size check.
Yeah.
Ask your parents, kids. There's a whole lot of reasons for this. What I have yet to see, because I remember hearing a little bit about this when I think it was the Series 4 came out that had the pulse ox in it initially. When it made its debut, there was a little there's this other company that says Apple is infringing. And the reason I remember it is because I remember somebody saying well, they make their own smartwatch. And they make their own thing that you wear on your arm that's supposed to allow you to do this same sort of monitoring, but nobody wants that one. Everybody wants an Apple Watch. And so it felt a little, what's the technical term for that? Epic versus Apple-y, I think is what you call that. Yeah, I think butthurt might be the technical term for what we're dealing with here. And that was the thing, at least initially, and I remember that striking me because it wasn't like Apple friendly press places that were saying that. They were saying this company, it was, places that are, just reporting the news and don't really aren't really interested in necessarily portraying Apple in a good light, or like, a place that is primarily covering Apple News or anything like that. So it was a lot of, isn't it interesting that this company makes a device to do this that nobody wants, and now Apple makes one and everybody wants the Apple one, and so this place is mad. Huh.
Yeah.
Now, what I have seen subsequently is that Apple hired people from that company,
Right.
and maybe there was more going on initially, behind the scenes than initially advertised. So that might have a little more to do with it. And if that's the case, that's not cool. And I'm not happy about it. And if that's really what was going on, then I hope Apple loses and is ordered to go write that Ed McMahon size check.
I have a hypothesis.
Okay, please do.
All right. I think that what's been going on behind the scenes was the two companies talking. Eventually, because Apple, as Kelly pointed out, has the resources to just make this go away.
Mm-hmm.
And my guess is that that at some point Apple said, "Okay, so we're putting zeros on this check, and is that enough right there to license the technology?" And the people at Massimo ultimately wanted something from Apple that was from Apple's perspective completely unreasonable, and discussions broke down, and ultimately that led to where we are now. And if Apple manages to get through the appeal process and end up with something that allows them to continue using the features, well, right now they have preemptively stopped sales in the United States only. Right. And I think if Apple ends up prevailing in a way that they like, and part of this is a crackpot theory that I started formulating over the last couple days. Apple will now be able to say, look, we were acting in good faith, and this company was asking for something that was completely unreasonable. We ended up in good faith stopping sales in the United States, and we estimate that cost us $400 million or something like that. And now that we can sell everything again and everything is fine, we are now going to send our ugly lawyers after Massimo for costing us that all that money during holiday sales. And I think ultimately Apple is doing everything it can to set themselves up to be as much optically the good guys they possibly can. Yeah. Well, at the same time, getting ready to get really, really ugly.
Yeah, this is unprecedented. I mean, it's like David versus the Goliath kind of thing here. You got the small company against the big company, and to see Apple just given this quickly, I just like I said, it's unprecedented. Brittany, what are your thoughts on this? Whether this whole thing?
I mean, Kelly sort of said what I was going to say is it is entirely possible that they have been somewhat ugly to begin with, but trying to look real neat, because they do get attacked by like actual patent trolls all the time.
Yeah.
So from the outside, it is very hard to tell which incidences are which. But if in fact they might have in fact had this coming, and they might be ramping up to be we're the people with the biggest lawyers, biggest baddest lawyers kind of game.
Yeah. And Ben, you got the last word on this, and what do you think?
Okay. Almost 5 years ago, Apple was facing something very similar over a spat with Qualcomm and the iPhone. Obviously, that played out very differently, and well, iPhones were never banned from the US.
Right.
Here's the deal. It seems like something has very much changed within the government from 5 years ago. Honestly, most people assume the president was just going to stay this from happening, and it would just end up going away with a check. Well, that hasn't happened, and we're at the point where it doesn't look like we're going to have any stay of execution from the White House here.
No. And
Apple is either going to have to license the patents or buy the company. Because at this point, I don't think essentially canceling the Apple Watch is an option.
No, it isn't. So again, this is going to play out. We'll be sitting here waiting and finding out. One of the other big things that's going to happen here too is because of this ban, this will impact your ability to get your device repaired or replaced because of the ITC's ruling is banning the ability to import any parts or service items for the Apple Watch for auto warranty as well. But this is going back to the Series 6. That's where the blood oxygen feature debuted. So you have the 6, the 7, the 8, and the 9 that have it.
Suddenly, this is personal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So a few of us here have these older Apple Watch models, and if you have a repair issue, this is going to be a problem. So I think this is going to be short lived. I agree with your hypothesis, Jeff. That this is let this settle in, wait for that deadline, and then now let's get our lawyers in place here and start getting this ball rolling. Because I mean, even Ben, you said it on social media. Apple should just buy this company.
Yeah, I mean, they also have certain audio patents that would be very good for Apple and certain audio brands.
But who knows if this company is willing to sell? I mean, they do a lot of medical stuff too, don't they?
Yeah. Honestly, I think Apple just miscalculated on this and didn't think it would go this far.
Yeah. No, I agree. So stay tuned. We're going to probably have another discussion about this next week, and we'll see where this goes, because very, 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 very strange. Very strange. So, all right, let's move on to a couple other stories here that are going on here. I just wanted to mention that iOS 16.7.4 was released. This was fixing a bug problem that prevented the built-in apps from being reinstalled. Oops. We're going to talk about 17.2.1 in just a minute here, but 16.7.4 for the older devices. If you'd uninstall the built-in apps, you couldn't install them back. So, whoops. So be aware if you do have the older devices and you're still running iOS 16 for that matter, to make sure to get this up to date, because if you accidentally uninstall the Mail app or any other core app, I've had family members do that all the time.
I would like to thank Apple for getting this out before everyone has to go home for Christmas, and the fam hands them their phones and says, I can't go on the internet anymore because there's no Safari, there's no Mail, there's no whatever. So thank you, Apple, for getting this out before everybody is stuck with a phone where there's no option to get it reinstalled.
Yeah. Anybody else have any thoughts on this before we move on here?
I think Kelly summed it up nicely.
She summed it up very well. Next story here. Apple News Plus subscription now includes The Athletic sports coverage. Apple did announce that this week that you now have access to daily sports news from The Athletic, which delivers in-depth coverage of hundreds of professional and college teams, which is actually now owned by the New York Times. They had some really good coverage over all the major sports, and have some great writers, and it's kind of cool to see that Apple News Plus grabbed this. It's for the U.S., the U.K., Canada, and Australia can follow it in the sports section and this as well. And then in addition to it, New York Times Wirecutter product reviews will be available in the Apple News next year. So New York Times did acquire The Athletic in January of 2022 for $550 million. So it's shut down its own sports desk because they saw how pretty pretty good The Athletic is. So what do you think of this, Ben?
I'm happy as a pig in, well, you get the picture.
The
Athletic, honestly, The Athletic has most of the premier sports journalists right now.
They do.
Yep. Going as a Bears fan, Kevin Fishbane, Adam Johns are absolutely excellent. And the Wirecutter, as far as tech reviews, that's the creme de la creme.
Yeah.
This was money very well spent from the New York Times, because they share that publication's excellence.
This is adding value to News Plus, because everybody was saying, I don't need that. But
it's nice to see it evolve too. Like that's the rest of the story here, is that things are getting added. The things that are available to you in News Plus are continuing to expand, because one of the things that that has always been kind of a hard sell for News Plus is, it's the vegetables, right? It's, it's not fun. There's no Angry Birds there. There's no whatever it is, that can make some of that stuff enjoyable. It's, it's the news part, and it's the most expensive of the monthly things that Apple's got going. So, to be able to point at it and say, like, we're continuing to add things and stuff is continuing to improve. That's only good for Apple in this case, because that was always the one that was kind of the hardest to get people excited about.
What is your thoughts, Brittany?
I don't have a lot of thoughts about either news or sports, so I might have to just sit this one out.
Okay. Jeff, probably the same.
Jeff has heard of sports. He knows they're a thing that exists in our timeline. I think that might be it.
That's true. Okay, here's my take. Just because I don't care about it doesn't mean it's not something that's important. And Apple getting more quality sports content available through their news offering, that's a good thing. I'm just not going to read it myself, but hey, it's there for the people that need it. Well done.
Yeah. It also is another piece of the structure around the other stuff that Apple has on offer, right? So if you are into the baseball stuff now, you can go read all your baseball coverage on The Athletic because you were watching the game on Apple TV, or any of the other ways that Apple's trying to get out into that stuff. This is just another way for people to take Apple seriously about their interest in sports coverage. So
yeah, absolutely.
I think it works.
All right, we can move on here. Bloomberg's reporting that the Vision Pro production is moving at full speed, and they're anticipating it's going to be a February 2024 launch as planned. The production of this new headset's been at full speed at the facilities in China. Has been several weeks, according to the people that Mark Gurman of Bloomberg has got this inside information. They're going to be also inviting retail employees to Cupertino for Vision Pro training, prep the retail stores for demos and fittings, and then encouraging developers to prepare their apps. 9to5Mac, those articles said that they did a recent poll about 4,500 readers, and 64% of the people said they aren't going to be buying a Vision Pro, where 21% said yes, they are. 15% said they haven't made a decision yet. So that's a pretty high number of the people that potentially may buy the Vision Pro. I'd like your thoughts, Ben. What do you think?
Honestly, even Apple knows it's not going to be that many people buying it right off the bat, which is why they went with the Pro. They kind of want to show off what it can do at the high end, and B, get the developers developing.
Yeah.
This is the closest thing to a public beta that Apple has done since the original Apple Watch.
Yeah, exactly. I know I won't be buying anyone. I'm buying one. I don't think anybody here on this panel is going to be either. So, did you have any thoughts on this, Brittany?
I actually don't even know if my brother's going to get one, and he is an AR developer.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Of all the people, I know literally one person who I think would be likely, and it's him.
Right. And for him, the types of things they do are construction, and they are very, very precise. And any latency, even a pretty good one, is a risky factor for them. So I don't know if they'll end up being able to use it or not. But it certainly hasn't been where my brother's been putting his development time.
Yeah.
So I don't even know if he's going to get one. If he did, though, I would go play with it and invite Kelly.
Yeah, you would.
Of course. Would go ahead. Sorry.
It's exciting though.
Would AR have any bearing of effects from somebody who has ADHD, since you are an expert in that field?
It totally could, both good and bad. Like, I don't want to deal with my dishes I haven't done, so I will disappear into augmented virtual reality for a little while. Could totally be a thing, the same way any other technology addiction works. But there also could be some really cool benefits, and I'm not sure if we will know what they are until they're out, right? Like, one of the reasons I absolutely had to buy an Apple Watch right away was no one else could tell me how it would interact with my attention, because nobody else pays attention to that like I do.
Yeah.
So I had to just do it. And I don't know if I'll know without trying, but there's a big difference between a $300 Apple Watch and $3,000. So,
yeah. 3.5.
Yeah.
3,500.
3.5. Yes.
Yeah.
Lest I forget.
I wanted that survey to have a follow-up question when the people said, yes, I'm interested in buying one. Do you remember it's like, do you remember the MSRP on this endeavor, and see how many people still say yes? I feel like there's a margin of people there that wait, it costs what?
Yeah.
Hard pass. Yeah.
What do you think, Jeff? I'll give you the final word.
I actually know a couple of people who are not developers who are planning on getting Vision Pro on launch day.
Okay.
And they're very excited about it, and good for them. I would love one. That's not going to happen because in addition to the cost of entry, I would have to pay the extra money to have prescription lenses made for it.
That's right.
So that's not going to happen.
Now, for the record, if Santa Cook wants to drop one under my tree, I'm not going to be upset.
Oh no, I don't think any of us would be.
Yeah. I think that a February launch is actually surprising early.
Yeah.
But good for Apple if they can pull it off. I saw a thing yesterday or this morning, and I'm sorry because I'm just remembering it now, so I have no other info. Microsoft is getting out of the VR headset space just as Apple is getting in.
Just like they got out of the mobile space too.
So they did learn. I was just going to say they did learn from Windows Phone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where they did not learn from the iPod.
Yeah. I do find the timing of that very interesting.
Yeah.
And I think that Apple is doing the same strategy, the same modus operandi here that they do with everything else. They start at the high end. They saturate that market to whatever keystone point they've set for themselves. Then they release something that's less expensive, not as many features, and so they hit that middle of the road group. And once they feel they've saturated that, then they'll come out with what I'll call the economy version.
Yeah.
The Vision SE is the thing I keep telling people. Like, oh, Kelly, are you going to get that new headset from Apple? No, I am not going to buy the Vision Pro. When they come out with the Vision SE, we'll have a conversation.
Yeah.
But until then, I'll be over here with popcorn and hoping Brittany's brother shows up with one.
It's a hand-drawn flip book.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. All right, a couple more stories here. Apple announced that it is going to be doing new contingent pricing feature for the App Store subscriptions. Apple's announced a new contingent pricing feature for the subscriptions in the App Store, according to Apple, that it gives developers a new way to attract and retain subscribers by offering a discounted subscription price as long as they're actively subscribed to a different subscription. In the post, this is on the Apple's developer site. It's going to it just says that exactly what I just said, that it's just going to be a active people who are, as long as they're actively subscribed, they'll be able to get a bit of a discount. Find this interesting to see how this goes, because it was always a challenge. You either it's all or nothing as far as any subscription costs here, and we're all subscription to death here with all these apps. And I like to see someone like Carrot Weather and some of the others like that has a subscription model, which I do pay for. I know Jeff does too, to see if they would come up with some sort of concept like this. What do you think, Jeff?
I really want to see how this plays out. And I think I'm correct in what I read. And if I'm wrong, please correct me.
Yep.
That it doesn't have to be subscriptions from the same company.
Right.
So Ben and we can come up with different apps that might complement each other. And then we can team up and do a subscription discount.
Yeah, we could bundle them with Jim Ray's app, which is actually useful.
Yeah.
Right. Yes.
But he's not in the App Store. That's the problem.
Hi, Jim.
Hi, Jim.
Yeah.
What do you think, Al?
I think this is cool. The issue I have is that and I realize this makes me a stereotypical Apple commentating person, but I don't think this issue is the issue that the App Store needs to solve. The thing I want the windmill I'm currently tilting at in the App Store that I've tilted at for years is this app has a signifier that it is a doorstop if you are not a paid subscriber. There's no free version. There's no nothing. Unless you are paying every month, then this is not a thing that's going to work for you. The end. Like, I just want to know ahead of time, like, give me a little video to play that shows me this is what the app looks like. Because if I'm not, and I'm just using an example, do not at me. This is only for illustrative purposes. Let's say ADT, who's a home monitoring security subscription service. Let's say ADT puts out an iOS app. I don't know. I don't have them. If I don't have that ADT subscription, their app is completely useless to me. I would like to know that going in. Yep. And I want that sort of thing to be more obvious in the store. It's nice that all the prices are listed, if there are in-app purchases, but I need you to tell me, regardless of whether you bought the subscription in the App Store or not, this piece of software will not benefit you because it will not function if you do not have a subscription to the thing. I mean, to give a better example, 1Password is a subscription piece of software. Right. Outside the demo, it becomes a doorstop, which is fine. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with doing it that way, but let me know ahead of time. Like, unless I sign up for the trial and set up an account or whatever, like, I can't just click around and, get an idea of what it's about without having an account. And I really wish that were more clear, because it happens to me. And I don't know if it's just something about what catches my eye in the App Store, but it catches my eye regularly. Oh, that looks cool. I want to try it out. You absolutely cannot do anything unless you give us your name and your address and your phone number and whatever. And like, I don't want to do that. I want to see if I even care first. I just need, a couple of hours to sit with this and goof around and see if it's what I'm looking for. And it's impossible. And I'm never going to come back to it later because squirrel. So, now it's sitting on my phone forever, and I open, 6 months later, I see it and go, oh yeah. And then I open it up. I'm like, oh yeah, this isn't going to work because it doesn't even let me have a demo. So that's the thing that I want fixed. I do think this is cool, and it is an interesting idea, and I like the possibility of teaming up. I do see that it calls out one developer or two different developers, but I really want to see what you get out of that. Like, who's Slope's going to team up with for some sort of group subscription between them. Like, Carrot Weather is amazing. Carrot also has a fitness app. Maybe the fitness app teams up with, something else so that you can, track that stuff together. Like, it'll be really interesting to see how those team up. And I want to find out who puts things together like that.
Yep.
because we see it like independently, like indie developers, like Winterfest is the software thing going on right now that, you can go get crazy deals on a bunch of awesome software because they all decided to get together and, list a page and all that kind of stuff. In order for people to go buy software licenses. So I want to see where this goes. This is the kind of thing that Apple does that makes me go, okay, now put it out in the world and let me find out what people are going to do with it, because it does sound cool. But yeah, not the problem, I think. Not the problem the App Store has is kind of where I'm at. So.
Before I get to you, Ben, Brittany, I just want to make sure if you had any other extra thoughts on this.
There are many problems with the App Store, and this wasn't on my list. It will be fine and interesting, but I have questions about their allocation of App Store improvement resources. Yeah. Not that this will be bad, it will be good. It's just, yeah. It's also putting another nail in the coffin on subscriptions, which I have psychological issues with. And I don't mean I have psychological issues. I mean, I might also, but I have issues with the psychology they play on the people who sign up for them.
And you got the final word, Ben. You wanted to add something about SetApp.
Yep. I have a theory of why they did this now.
Go on.
And that theory is related to March 6th, 2024. That is the date when the DMA goes into effect. And at least in the EU, Apple has to allow side-loaded apps and other app stores on their platforms. Making this kind of concession to developers could be kind of an olive branch to keep them on the App Store, opposed to going with SetApp, who has said they do plan to make their own App Store, or Microsoft, or any of the other companies who have said they plan to make alternative stores for iOS. Yep,
which they've been. I mean, even SetApp has its own iOS part of their package too. So yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting. So for sure. One last story here. I'm just going to just a brief mention of this. We've been talking a lot about the Apple Card lately with the Goldman Sachs issue and the big breakup that maybe is going to be happening soon. But meanwhile, the Apple Card savings account got its first interest rate boost since its launch. Apple and Goldman Sachs have announced that the interest rate increase for the Apple Card savings that went effect this week. That customers will now earn 4.25% versus 4.15%. It's not much, but it's still pretty gosh darn good for having some money in there, and great to see that they're continuing on with this. I don't think they want to get any more angry customers as we sit on the sidelines with our box of popcorn to see what's going to happen with with the Apple Card. So it's good, the deal. So go into your wallet to take a look at your Apple Card savings account. And you'll be pleasantly surprised to see 4.25% is now your interest rate to get earnings. So, all right, let's go ahead and move on to the stories this week and the topics. iOS 17.2, lots of stuff going on with that. Apple did release 17.2.1, which had some bug fixes. Again, the release notes didn't really say, wasn't anything real specified or what was released in security content. You can go to the support link and take a look at it, but generally you got to know that whenever Apple's going to release a .1 version of iOS, that's going to tell you that it's pretty important, because it does have some security fixes that's going to keep the stability in place. So just like we talked about earlier with 16.7.4, they fixed that bug, this too. So go out, install it, make sure you have the update. It isn't going to hurt anything. They're already actively going to are working on 17.3, which we'll talk about in just a minute here. And then right away, Apple stopped signing 17.1.1 to prevent any downgrading. So, and that was like the quickest I'd ever seen them do that. That was like within less than 24 hours after it was released.
Yeah,
they stopped the downgrading. Dave, so yeah.
I believe one of the fixes in 17.2.1 and also Mac OS whatever dot one.
Sonoma, yeah.
So yeah, Mac OS
Wine Country.
Wine Country, sorry.
dot
14
2.1.
something. Yeah.
It's 14.2.1, I think it is.
It was a bug that Craig Hockenberry from Icon Factory found.
That's right.
Where if you do a screen share, it could potentially share the wrong screen.
Yeah.
That's a problem. So
that's a problem. So yay, Craig, for finding that.
Yay, Craig, thank you.
And for being public about it, because a lot of times, the less Apple says about the update, the faster you need to install it, because they don't want to tell anybody about, how bad it is, how bad the security hole is that they're fixing. So when you just see, you can always kind of add the Jedi hand wave at the end of, important security update. You will install it now, that kind of thing. So it was kind of funny to see see Chalklock, pop up on Mastodon, that was me. Thanks, everybody. It was pretty funny.
Yeah, that is funny. One other thing I will mention about 17.2 and tvOS 17.2 for that matter is they did kill the TV show and movie wish lists with no warning. Apple did remove these options to purchase TV shows and movies from the iTunes Store apps, which we knew that, and I was going to redirect customers to the Apple TV app instead. But unfortunately, that move also caused the consolidated purchasing and viewing of the Apple TV app has done away with wish lists for customers who wanted to have this featured and got no warning that it happened. And it's got a lot of social media discussion and they don't understand why this happened, and it isn't clear that if Apple's ever going to re-implement this or not in some way. So you do have a few upset customers, because I know a lot of people had been using this as far back as iOS 11, and the feature is now gone. So I had not used that. I don't know if any of you had used that in the past.
Yeah. Well, I've used the iTunes one, and I used to use the App Store wish list a lot, and it also has evaporated. And I'm like,
I was about to say, so
where do I track that
is it
stuff?
gone? Because I was looking a few weeks ago on the App Store, because several servers ago, someone had recommended an app that works with shortcuts for monitoring newborns. And I was like, well, I don't need it yet because I'm not pregnant yet. So I will save it to my wish list.
But now,
But now,
And now I'm screwed. Unless somebody out there knows of a newborn app that works with shortcuts, because nothing says Brittany more than that.
Yes.
Yeah. That is excruciatingly on brand, I believe is the phrase there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Sad.
You have anything? But you want last word there, Ben?
I was going to say literally excruciating.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. So then iOS 17.3 beta 1 is still continuing. There was no change after last week. We talked at great length in last week's show about the stolen device protection. So we talk, if you want to hear more about that, listen to episode 284. You'll have some good review of this new feature. That's going to be a great piece to secure yourself. And we'll be talking a little bit about the latest article from Joanna Stern that she talked about and actually interviewed somebody that was a thief of iPhones just in a little bit here. That kind of really hit it home how important this is going to be. So let's talk a little about CarPlay. CarPlay in the iPhone 15 with the USB-C cable. There's been some challenges with cars with people have USB-C cables and having the USB-C to USB-A cable that you have to use. But you may have to purchase a separate cable in order to continue to use CarPlay if you don't have a wireless connection. Cars have the USB-A. It's all very common in cars these days. So unless you buy one of the car wireless adapters, CarPlay adapters, which I have, which I absolutely love, other than sometimes it doesn't connect, which just gets to be a bit annoying at times. So Apple didn't really didn't make a first-party USB-A to USB-C cable for this situation. But it sells the same from one of its partners like Belkin or Mophie. and then they sell a $29 USB-C to Lightning adapter, which is the official solution. Which the adapter I've tried is kind of crazy. So, just get the cable, and it should work. And in the show notes we have a link to the 9to5 Mac article here of Belkin, Anchor, and Amazon does have some good cables too. And I haven't tried it since I have my wireless. I don't think any of you here. Cal, you don't have CarPlay, right? I don't, so you couldn't.
No. But what's funny is that I was gonna come and bellyache a little bit because I have the Bluetooth of cavemen apparently in the automobile I currently pilot, and I've told you guys before that it hates my phone in a new way every time I get a new phone. And now how it hates my phone is that while I am driving, so first of all, I have to manually connect it every time I get in the car. I have to go to the Bluetooth menu. The first option in the Bluetooth menu is not select audio, it's pair audio, which is a thing that I will die mad about. So whoever decided at Subaru that was the thing that was the menu order, I'm coming for one of your eyebrows in your sleep. Know this. That aside, I have to manually connect it every time I get into the car. And what is the new habit that the car system has taken up is piecing out while I'm driving and just going, "You're not connected. What are you talking about?" Which is super fun because you cannot do anything about it until you are 100% completely stopped. So there's nothing to be done. Like I have been a passenger and tried to fix it and gone like, okay, well, there's the Bluetooth thing. Let me just connect to the tried to tell the car and it goes, and it gives you the finger because the car is moving. And I can't, and I don't, this is new and it's terrible and I don't like it. And I was literally today, as I was stuck in traffic, so going slowly but not stopping, so I couldn't fix it, sitting there thinking, do I just need to buy a cable and give up on Bluetooth? And it sounds like I'm not going to get anywhere with that either unless I go with Apple's long and storied tradition of the $29 white adapter. So I mean, I do take a tiny bit of comfort in the fact that is a tradition that has not gone away under the new regime. But the thing about this is that if people aren't paying attention, and I think we've had this conversation here before, I know I've had it with a lot of people, some recorded, some not. USB-C is just a shape. There's no indication. There's no obvious indication this is a data cable or a charging cable, or that it's going to have enough power to charge the thing you want it to charge, that you're going to be able to plug it into the side of your computer and sync data to a hard drive from your Mac or whatever. Like, before you even get to the reliability of some of the third-party stuff. So somebody goes on Amazon and sees the actual cable is $30, finds one for $8, and now, the $8 one is a horrible experience, and there's no obvious way to tell that that's what you're in for, aside from the fact that you paid $8. So I think this is going to end up being really frustrating for a lot of people. As one of the many changes that you have to make, some expected and some forgotten, with moving to USB-C from Lightning.
Yeah. Last word, go ahead, Ben.
Yep. I think this article is actually a bit incomplete because they leave out one scenario, USB-C to USB-C. There are several automakers who do have more modern USB-C ports, and there are others like me who did a USB-C retrofit, and that should have been addressed.
Okay. No, good point. Meanwhile, all I have to do is say GM. It isn't going it isn't going very well with CarPlay. If you remember last week, we reported that GM said that they're ditching Apple CarPlay and Android Auto for your safety. and people won't stop looking at their phones, and they want to minimize that danger inside cars. But we won't go down there because we talked about that last week. But interesting story here that says that they are off to a disastrous start. It's having nothing but issues. The system was being finicky. Then the Windows switches weren't working, and the infotainment system was completely melting down, stuck in an infinite loop of shutting off and turning back on. It sounds familiar. And yeah, all I could say is this is, serves your right GM for doing this just because you think it was for safety.
What's safe about not being able to roll down a window? What's safe about a GPS that says I'm in the middle of the ocean?
Yeah.
How is that helpful? Is that keeping my eyes on the road? Because obviously the GPS I have is useless.
Right.
Come on, son.
Or not being able to charge during a long road trip, which actually happened to one journalist who had to leave his Blazer EV in the middle of a West Virginia town.
Yeah.
Yep. So another reason not to buy a GM vehicle in 2024 is you're going to be dealing with some pains in dealing with their infotainment system. Next story here. I want to.
You said that wrong. InfoPAINment.
InfoPAINment. Yes.
InfoPAINment system.
Yes.
Yes. Good luck. Have fun talking to your board, Mary Barra.
And
yeah.
And also, I would like to give Jeff props for the show title for this week, the InfoPAINment system.
Thank you for that suggestion. So I wanted to discuss again. Joanna Stern did an amazing expose on how people were easily able to use social engineering and look over the shoulders of people at bars and other places and be able to see their passcode and then steal their phone, and within a matter of minutes steal their identity, their money, their phone, the whole thing here. So, and again, we talked about it. That new stolen protection that's going to be added to 17.3, which is going to be very helpful. But this was interesting to see that she actually went to one person that had been stealing iPhones for quite a long time in Minnesota, and and she interviewed this guy. This was he was actually in prison, and he stole literally hundreds, if not thousands, of iPhones and resold them, and said how easy it was to be able to just look over their shoulders and put their PIN codes in and change it. So it's a great video. If you haven't watched already, I have a link in the show notes so you can take a look at it. And I think this is something we need to be really concerned about. Putting stronger passcodes in, using definitely six digits. Use alphanumeric passcodes if necessary. But be aware of your surroundings. I mean, there were other people that were in this video that said, "Oh yeah, I handed somebody my phone, and can you take my picture, or here you can have my phone, do this," and I just was shaking my head. What? Why would you do that? And he even said he regretted the fact that I don't know what he could have done to my phone in those matter of minutes that he did that. So, this is disturbing. It really is. I think it's. I mean, good for them. They finally caught this guy, and it was a ring of guys, the guys that were doing this, and But the thing is, once they deregistered the iPhone and get rid of Find My, get rid of get everything they want out of it, they erased the phone, and then now it's a phone that's wide open to sell, and it isn't locked down anymore, because that's what we always thought. When you steal a phone, oh yeah, you can't do anything with that phone because it's locked to my account or it's locked to no. If you reset the Apple ID, you're done, and that device is free and clear to be done whatever it is, other than you report it to the police. And I don't know if they even put it on a list of stolen phones once it's been completely erased and removed from an account. So Kelly, I would like to hear your thoughts on this, where this should go. And I think this was just some great information. People just need to be aware of this stuff. Passwords are it's so important.
Well, and not only that, but awareness of your passwords too. Like, you know, I know a lot of people who couldn't be bothered with Touch ID, like, oh, that's hard, it's weird. You know, same with Face ID. So, you know, stand in the middle of the grocery store and, you know, maybe they mutter it to themselves as they're typing it in, whatever. And the thing that I try to impress upon people, you know, when people ask me stuff personally, when people ask me stuff professionally, is if I take that phone from you and I go drop it in a blender, how screwed are you right now? You know, what happens if I have your phone and you are never, ever, ever getting it back? You walk out of the house, it's struck by lightning. Now what? You know, do you have iCloud backup working? Do you have alternate contacts? Do you have a backup, you know, do you have a backup address, a backup recovery email address set up on your iCloud? You know, real basic level stuff that you know, we take for granted because it's table stakes for us to be able to use anything is, you know, long, weird passwords and, you know, this, that, and the other. And people, capital P people, aren't always thinking of that. You know, I always have I have a 4-digit passcode, or, you know, I'm mad that it's 4 because Apple wouldn't let me make it 3, you know, things like that. So, you know, a lot of what I thought came out of this was, once again, the underlying thing that I think David and I say to people all the time, which is the weakest link in any person's security is the person.
Right.
It doesn't matter who you are. You know, are you getting weird 2-factor authentication stuff? You know, are you I had 3 different people at work today who got weird looking text messages and said, I think this is a little weird looking. Brittany and I have a friend who texted us a screenshot of one today that was, I need you to go get me some gift cards. It's very important, you know.
Keyword gift cards.
I still don't have those gift cards, Brittany.
Darn it.
Yeah, well, we're gonna need them for the Vision Pro, Jeff. Get on the stick.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
I think really what I hope happens is that this does freak people out and not make people move to cabins in the woods and write manifestos, but maybe just think a little harder about, you know, it's really hard for someone to mimic my face just by looking over my shoulder at my phone. It's a lot harder for them to get into my passcode, and maybe take another think about using the Face ID so that you don't have to do that. Using Apple Pay so that you're not getting out your credit card for people to see the number of, you know, because having the number printed on the back only gets you so far. You know, a lot of basic security sorts of things. And I hope that this does make people a little bit more paranoid so that some of that stuff gets better. People are using 6-digit codes or 8-digit codes so that when they do have to type it, it is long and weird, and it makes it harder for other people to get into. And, you know, once again, we will bang the password manager drum, use iCloud keychain, use something. I don't care what it is. Just start using something, because you shouldn't have to think about those anymore. And it makes it easier for them to be complicated so that they're not all the same, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so I'm hoping that this ends up being the kind of cautionary tale that, you know, it is received in the spirit it was given of, you know, this should really make you think. This shouldn't make you convert and become Amish and churn butter and raise barns for the rest of your life. Trust me, there's
say that like it's a bad thing.
Lot of appeal. But I hope that that's what happens, that people think about it and start kind of doing better, because this is the kind of stuff, you know, like I talk to people about security all the time. As you're growing up, you learn what to do with a car. You learn not to stand at the ATM and withdraw hundreds of dollars alone at night and then stand there and count it alone. You know, at the ATM, you put everything in your pocket, you get a car, and then once you're in the car, sort things out. Like you learn those things. That's it verges on like almost tribal knowledge. Like it's passed down from generation to generation in as things you just sort of grow up culturally knowing, and we don't have that yet with internet, with phones, with this kind of like personal technology stuff. So I really, really want for people to start thinking more about that and get on that train of just an ounce of situational awareness, an ounce of security, and an ounce of thinking about it. Because the thing is, if you think about it a tiny bit, then you are a way less attractive target than all the people who still don't think about it at all. This is very much the I don't have to outrun the bear, I just have to outrun you situation. And as long as you just make yourself a slightly less appealing target, then the thieves will move on to somewhere else, because most of those people are going to people too. And a lot of them are just looking for the easiest one. Yep. Nobody's going to smash in your window. Nobody's going to try and jimmy your lock if somebody else left a window down.
Right.
Across the parking lot. Like they're always going to go for the car that's unlocked.
Yeah, this criminal was not sophisticated at all. Not a cyber criminal, not at all. He was just a common pickpocket. He just watched and learned how to manipulate Apple's circumventing their security. He even mentioned the fact that I know how to go into the Notes app because people are putting passwords in the Notes app with no password. Yeah, so I mean, I think just to learn from this story is just be aware of your surroundings. Use secure passwords. Don't use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever it is for your passcode. And
upgrading to an 8-digit passcode is not an upgrade if you just upgrade from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Yeah, it's still not going to work.
Use a password manager and not the Notes app.
Please do.
Yes.
Anybody else want to add anything to add on this before we move on to a couple last more stories? We're good. All right. A couple things that I just wanted to mention here real quick. Apple now is offering a self-diagnostics program as far as part of their self-service repairs. What they've done is they've now, this is the diagnostics that you can go into at an Apple store, is the way it used to be, where you'd go in and they would run these diagnostics and start testing your iPhone and going through all the various tests that we remember before. Well, now they've opened this up to anybody that has an iPhone 12 or later, where you can isolate any issue with the iPhone that you're trying to troubleshoot and go through the diagnostics before you have to actually confirm that, okay, yeah, my iPhone has a problem, then bring it into the Apple store. I think this is really cool. I've tried it. It works. It's pretty nifty when the way it works. And they have a full support article on this, and Apple is just showing you that they're doing more things to open up diagnostics to test your devices more than ever. Starting to realize that they've spent a lot of time at an Apple store where you could be doing this self-service, something simple like this. This isn't taking the phone apart to fix it. This is simple diagnostics. So we've all got these tools at our fingertips now for iPhone 12 or later. So
you may have bumped up against this if you've had a battery replaced in a phone in the last while, because if you go in the Apple support app on your phone and put in I'm having battery trouble with my phone, they go here and do this and wait a minute, and then it adds diagnostic information to your appointment so that they can see this isn't you feel like you need a new battery. It actually shows the information about your battery health is crap and you should go get it fixed and that kind of stuff. So if you've done anything like that before now, you may have sort of bumped up against this diagnostic mode, the self-service side of this diagnostic mode, if you've done something like that ahead of time. So then they go, well, yes, as a matter of fact, you can schedule an appointment.
Yeah. So check it out. Links in the show notes. Two more things I want to talk about here. Jeff and I talked about last week, right at the end of the show, so I forgot to talk about it. And this was we put a challenge together here that we were going to buy very inexpensive Apple Watch band from Amazon. It was a $16 knockoff of the band, and both of us have reports back to what our experience were. I've linked to Jeff's Instagram post to showing the band and what his experience was, and you said it's looking good so far. You're still using it, right?
Yeah, actually, I'll take it off, and there we go. So, yeah, it's actually showing up pretty well. Yeah, so I've been using this watch band for over a week now, a little bit over a week, every day, all day long, and it's holding up great. I did notice in the Amazon images on their website on this end, it's now showing this little loop thing, and mine does not have that. Mine looks like Apple's actual watch band. So I'm curious if people that are buying it now are getting it with that extra little loop thing on it, which seems like would be kind of annoying. It
was a loop. I don't have it on, but it was the loop that held it together. Is that what they put on there now? Because mine did not have that.
Yeah, it's like a little hump or a little loop on the end where you take one end and then stick it through.
I wish they had that because it doesn't have it. And as soon as I put the watch on, it was pretty. It's not like I'm wearing the Apple version of a Velcro one. As soon as I went and moved anything across my body, and then the watch fell off because it grabbed the end of that band. And that magnet that magnet is not as strong as it should be.
I still haven't had a chance to go into an Apple store and compare it to theirs. I did notice if you don't put the band on the correct direction, you don't have the right polarity.
Yeah,
and it doesn't work very well at all.
Yeah, I have the leather knockoff version of that band, and I don't wear it for the exact reason that has been said. Number one, you have to remember which side goes on top, and two, even then, it's way too easy to unclasp. I honestly wish it was essentially a leather, in this case, fine woven version of the Melanie's loop, which I much prefer.
Yeah. So,
and I have a feeling I am less rough with my watch than most people.
No, I wasn't rough. I mean, I just was my normal moving my wrist or going around, and it just grabbed the end of the band and flipped it open, and the watch fell right off my wrist. I'm like, no,
that's bad.
No. Yeah, that's not great.
So now I'm wondering about quality control with magnets.
Yeah,
because mine sticks well enough that I actually fidget with it, and I'm sitting here playing with it all the time, pulling it open, letting it click back, and I haven't had a situation where it's caught on anything and come off yet.
Yeah. Now I don't know if it's any different. I have the 45 millimeter. You probably have the 40. The smaller.
I have the smaller one.
Right. So it might be a little different.
But okay, so magnets aside, the fine woven on this is holding up great.
Yeah, it's okay.
Even like today, and yesterday, it doesn't matter. Over the last couple days, I've had multiple instances where I'm moving furniture around, and I haven't lost it while moving furniture, and it doesn't look scuffed up. So as far as visual, I'm really impressed with how this band is holding up.
Good. All right. One last thing I want to wrap up with a tip here. In iMessage, I found this is in 17.2. What is your messages count plus storage? You always wondered where is showing all of your storage of how many messages you have in iMessage. And believe me, a lot of us have a lot of attachments and messages in iMessage. The way to do that is you actually go into settings and then tap your name, go to iCloud, then go to show all, then you choose messages in iCloud. And then that will bring up a dialog box, which I'll have a picture in the show notes for this. that says managed storage. In this case, it says 46 gigabytes. That's a lot. Boy, that's a lot. And you kept your messages forever, however many messages are in iCloud, and then when it was synced last. So this is a much improved way of, and handy to know right off the bat how many messages you have in iMessage, because we have way too many of them.
Holy crap, I need to clear some stuff out.
There you go. See, this tip's going to work.
36.23 gig, 258,794 messages.
Yep.
Jeff, I also have 72 gigs.
There you go.
Well, that makes me feel better.
Those are very close.
And I thought I was doing a good job of getting rid of stuff in messages that I just don't need, but apparently not.
See, I'm not bad. I only have 10 gigs.
Only 10.
Just that.
You're just not trying hard enough.
I guess not. So good tip, and glad that Apple added this, because it's so much easier to be able to find out how many messages you have stored in your messages, because you're backing that up too. All right. That was such a great show. Thank you all for being here. I really appreciate it. And we're going to go ahead and wrap up for this week. That's a wrap for this week. Please send your comments, questions, and suggestions to our email address, which is feedback@intouchwithios.com. You can follow us on Mastodon, which is at intouchwithios at techhangout.social. Support the show by buying me a coffee at intouchwithios.com/coffee. We really appreciate it. You can become a patron of the show by going to patreon.com/intouchwithios. We have 2 tiers available to support the show. We'd really appreciate it. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe so you're notified when we are live streaming, which is on Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/intouchwithios. Shout out to Brian F. was in the chat, and Wayne, really appreciate it. And there were a few others as well. Appreciate you being out there this week. This is where you can also watch the current and past live streams, as well as listen to past shows. Visit In Touch with iOS magazine on Flipboard, where many of the topics we discuss are flipped into that magazine. The link is in our show notes. You can subscribe to the show in your favorite podcatcher, including Pocket Casts, Overcast, Apple Podcasts, and many others. But better yet, just go to our website at intouchwithios.com, where all the ways to listen to us are there. I am Dave Ginsburg. You can find me on Mastodon at DaveG65 at mastodon.cloud. And Brittany Smith, I'm so excited you got to make it here this week. It's been so long. I'm glad you were able to be on the show. And where can people find you?
Thank you so much for having me. You can find me, let's go with ADD Liberator. That's on Mastodon, but it's PDX. And also on TikTok and YouTube under ADD Liberator.
Yeah, go check out her TikTok. She's got some great videos on there. Kelly Guimont, thank you also for being here. It had been a little while. I'm so glad you were able to make it this week. And where can people find you?
Thanks for having me on, and have a happy holiday.
Yes, happy holidays.
You can find me on the after show with Mike Rose. I think we're trying to get another episode together this week to get out the door, so we'll see about that. I want my MCU TV over on the Incomparable Network. You can find me over there, also engaged in other recorded shenanigans like playing the 1950s board game Careers, or trying to guess at answers in a game called Feudin' Families, which is obviously legally distinct, answering questions about the Marvel Universe and other kinds of like I said, recorded entertainment. And let's see, you can also find me on Mastodon, where I am Verso at mastodon.social. And sometimes on Tuesdays with Chuck Joyner. You can go check out my gift picks there for this year. And I still don't have as many things as Jeff, so I'm just going to go ahead and wrap it up with that.
Thanks, Kelly. Appreciate it. And Ben Roethig, where can people find you? Thanks for being here.
Well, Dave, you can find me on social media at Ben Roethig at your social media of choice. You can find my writings on roethig.tech. On Tuesdays, you can find me on Mac Voices with Mr. Chunk Joyner. And Thursday and Fridays, except during our holiday hiatus, you can find me on the British Tech Network with Mr. Jeff Gamet for the Big and Mac shows.
Great. Thank you, Ben. Last but certainly not least, Jeff Gamet, thank you as always for being here. I really appreciate it. Where can people find you?
Well, Dave, as always, thank you for letting me be part of this because it's just so much fun to hang out with you and everyone else.
It is.
All right, so social medias, I'm Jay Gamet everywhere. I am active on Mastodon, Instagram, and Threads. And then for shows, on Tuesdays, Chuck Joyner's Mac Voices Live. Then here on Thursdays on In Touch with iOS, so thank you. And then on the British Tech Network, and yes, Ben pointed out that shows there are in their winter break until beginning of the new year. Thursdays for the big show, Fridays for the Mac show, and then Brian Chaffin and I record the Context Machine.
Great. Thank you so much. And thank you for listening. This was a pre-Christmas show, or the holidays are here. I want to wish everybody happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Well, actually, I have a show next week, so we'll be able to have a pre-New Year's show. So I'm so glad you were able to listen, and we enjoyed doing it, and we'll talk again soon.